All right, people. Talk about the end times today. The end times. I got a lot to read. You know what? No. There's too much to read. All right, I'm gonna let y'all read this on your own. So I want you to read, do some homework, Matthew 24. I want you to read 1 through 14. I want you to read 21 through 25. I want you to read verse 36. And I want you to read 45 and 46. Read the whole thing. Matthew 24. Because it's a lot. It's a lot of people. I ain't got a lot of time. Okay. So, talking about the end times. Everything I'm saying is referenced from Matthew 24. Okay. So pretty much, anytime there's some sort of catastrophe around the world, we start to believe that we are in the end times. Anytime there's some type of big time natural disaster, anytime, really here in the U.S., anytime there's a new president, all right, there's always one side saying, this means the end of the times. This is a broken seal, especially when Trump was in office. That might have actually been true. I don't know, people. It might have actually been true. But in Matthew 24, it starts off by the disciples asking Jesus about some buildings. Okay? Now, you got to be careful. Back then, when you're talking to Jesus, anything you say can and will be used in a long sermon by Jesus. All right? So they asked him a simple question. Look at these buildings. Aren't they nice? Some nice buildings, right, Jesus? And Jesus was, see all these buildings? Right? Not one stone's going to be left. Everything's coming down. It's going to be destroyed. And then Jesus went on a long sermon about destruction. The end times, the signs of the end of the age, what all that was going to look like. And pretty much what he's saying in the beginning of Matthew 24 is don't flip out about it. All right, this doesn't necessarily mean that the end is right here. This is like the beginning of the beginning. All right, it's going to continue to progressively get worse throughout time. And that's what we've seen. We've seen all kinds of things get worse and worse. We've seen violence, wars, drugs, natural disasters, the state of this planet. We've seen all kinds of things get worse and worse. And Jesus is saying, well, don't flip out. All right? Not don't care, but don't assume that is what we all think of it as. This is the end. This is it. It's finally it. This person got in office. It's finally over. And Jesus is like, no. It's not like that. Jesus has said in other places, look, don't pay attention to those people who are like, the kingdom of God is here or there. No, the kingdom of God doesn't come with your sight. The kingdom of God is within you. All right? So it's the same type of thing. Don't just listen to all that chatter. So Jesus talks about all kinds of destruction. He talks about hearts getting cold. And how we'll become more and more apathetic. And we've seen that already. This is another thing, not just with all the destruction, all the bad things of the world getting progressively worse, but also the coldness of our hearts. We see it on social media all the time. And I think that this is a product of social media. Like you're strolling down, social media lane, and then you see something horrible has happened, right? If social media was just a place you could walk down the street and you see, oh my goodness, that's horrible. And you just keep going, right? Now back in the day, something horrible happened, we were forced kind of to reflect on it. With all the news outlets, and that's what everybody's talking about. There wasn't the phone to just go to some other story. Or just go to sports. I guess you could just flip to the sports section and just totally forget about the front page disaster. But it's warped us a bit. We've become colder just by social media. And this is all of us. So if you're not trying hard not to be cold, it's hard not to be cold, right? There's a recent story of this woman. I think her name was Laura Machado. Don't hold me to that. And she's on Wheel of Fortune. You also saw that story. And she got something real wrong. I won't get into it. Enough people have gotten into it with her on social media, and that's the point. Like it started off, it was something funny that happened. There was something that was obvious, that should have been obvious, and she didn't get. We've seen videos like this before, where it starts off and the comments are funny, they're just having fun, and then it crosses the line into cruel, and it keeps going as far as it can down cruelty lane. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of how we do on social media in general. Anytime something goes wrong, there's like a valid territory of ridicule or shame or whatever. And we always take things so far. And we just don't care how it impacts the person or the people involved. We don't care. It's kind of what we're talking about here, but it's on a more grand scale. Jesus gets into false prophets, false messiahs. There are plenty of people prophesying right now about Russia and Ukraine. I can't tell you how tired I am of people who are talking about Russia and Ukraine, about the war, and have no idea what they're talking about. So hopefully you're not at a church where they're doing that and prophesying about it, adding Jesus' name to it. But watch out for those people who are telling you that they have all the answers. Watch out for those people who are telling you, look, you follow me, you'll get the truth. Those people don't have the truth. Just follow me. Watch out for those people, those false messiahs, those false prophets, those people who are pointing, look over there. That's where the real truth is. Look over there, stay over there, don't go over there. There's false prophets. There's plenty of them out there. He's warning about that. We just saw Pat Robertson. He's been a false prophet for like decades. Still around, but we tolerate him, right? We tolerate a lot of ministers like that. Even though Jesus warns us. Jesus said, I'm telling you all this ahead of time so that you know, right? So when you see it happening, you know what to do. Not heeding his warnings, right? Even with those who are preaching the gospel, be careful with those who say, well, if you follow the gospel and you come to our church, all your problems will be fine. Nah, that's not what Jesus says. In fact, Jesus said, you follow me, your life will get worse. Probably will. Because no servant's greater than his master, is what Jesus says. So if they follow my teachings, they'll follow yours. But they persecuted me, so they're going to persecute you as well. It's going to get harder for you, not easier. The Apostle Paul once wrote about, look, it's probably better if you don't even have a family. You don't get married, you don't have kids, because it's going to be so much easier to follow Christ if you don't have all that. And he was talking about everything you got to go through in following Christ, especially if you're going to be a minister. So it's not going to get easier. You know what I'm saying? So watch out for that. Jesus also talks about, look, all this stuff is going to come to an end, and it's really out of mercy that's coming to an end. Because Jesus said, if for the elect's sake, for his children's sake, it's coming to an end, because if it didn't, you just destroy yourselves. And we are destroying ourselves. A lot of the things we see in our cities, it's our fault. We'll blame God, we'll blame some politician, but it's our fault. It's the community's fault. We're not doing nothing about it. We don't care enough. We become cold, right? So watch out for that, church. And in the end of all this, Jesus is saying, look, all the stuff's going on. Don't flip out. Stay focused. All right? Endure to the end. Be disciplined. All this stuff's going to happen. Don't flip out and get distracted going here and there where people tell you to go. Don't get all anxious by the media. You stay focused. And so we leave with those things, right? Ultimately, relief might not come in the way or when you want it to come, but you have comfort in God. You need to stay faithful. So these three things, people: pray, love, stay focused. Let's continue to encourage one another in prayer. Let's continue to love one another. Let's stay focused. Let's not get all caught up in end times discussion, getting distracted. Let's not get all caught up in the media frenzy and what the hot button topic of the day is. Let's stay focused on whatever God put in your heart to do, whatever God put in the heart of your church to do. Let's continue to stay focused on that. Prayer, love, focus. Peace.